Welcome to the Bible Mindset. Powerful, motivational, biblical sermon by Tony Evans. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say this loud and clear, so the atmosphere around your life has no choice but to shift. You are not overlooked, you are not forgotten, and you are certainly not left out. You have been set apart by divine design. That means when others walked into rooms and got the applause, you were being reserved for a higher purpose. When they were being picked for the platform, you were being positioned for a purpose that man mayn't manufacture or manipulate. Being set apart feels lonely, but it's sacred. See, you weren't created to blend in with the crowd. You were called to stand out with conviction. And yes, standing out comes with silence, seasons of obscurity, and even rejection. But don't confuse God's development process with abandonment. You haven't been abandoned, you've been anointed. And the oil on your life isn't ordinary, it costs what the crowd wasn't willing to pay. You got to understand, when God sets you apart, He shields you from contamination. He doesn't allow you to settle in spaces that would dilute your destiny. He blocks the wrong opportunities so He can prepare the right one. He lets others run ahead so He can build endurance in you for the marathon that's ahead. You're not pacing with people, you're pacing with purpose. They didn't return your call. They passed over your name. They scrolled right past your gift, your heart, your voice, and it stung. It cut deep because you showed up with purity, with effort, with excellence, only to be overlooked again. But what if I told you that the sting of rejection is actually the start of redirection? What if that no you keep rehearsing in your head is really heaven's way of rerouting you towards something your enemies can't block and your insecurities can't sabotage? Too often we mislabel moments that don't go our way. We assume it's a dead end when it's actually a divine detour. We mourn the rejection as if God needed their yes to fulfill His will. Hear this. Your destiny is not hanging in the balance of other people's opinions. Their refusal doesn't cancel your purpose, it just removes the distractions. Every rejection is a spotlight on where God does not want you to settle. You've been hidden, tucked away, unseen by the masses. The spotlight hasn't found you. The stage hasn't called your name, and the applause, it's been painfully absent. You watch others rise. Platform after platform, opportunity after opportunity, and you wonder, did God forget about me? But hear me, obscurity isn't God ignoring you, it's Him investing in you. What feels like silence is often sacred strategy. When God hides you, He's not punishing you, He's protecting you. When God conceals you, He's not withholding, He's working. You're not buried, you're planted. And planted things don't look impressive at first, but they're the ones that grow the deepest roots. See, the world celebrates visibility, but heaven honors preparation. We've been trained to chase platforms, but God is training you to carry weight. And to carry weight, you need depth. And depth is built in the dark. It's in those quiet, tucked away seasons that He deals with your heart, tests your character, exposes your motives, and strengthens your spirit. Because elevation without preparation leads to destruction. You don't want promotion that your integrity can't sustain. So when He pulls you into obscurity, it's not because He doesn't love you, it's because He does. Don't despise the hidden place. That's where giants are made. That's where warriors are forged. That's where prophets are formed. Everyone wants the microphone, but few want the wilderness. Everyone wants the crown, but few want the crushing. Obscurity doesn't delay your destiny. It develops it. It's where your private devotion becomes stronger than public approval. It's where your faith learns to stand on truth, not applause. It's where you become so rooted in God that no rejection, no betrayal, no closed door can shake you. Think about David, anointed in the field, not the throne room. God found him where no one was looking. While others were flexing titles, he was tending sheep. But what people called insignificance, God called training. David wasn't just watching sheep, he was learning to lead. He wasn't just playing music, he was building intimacy with God. The field taught him what the palace couldn't. And when it was time, God pulled him out of obscurity, not man. That's the kind of promotion you want, the kind that man can't take credit for. You've been hidden for a reason. God is maturing you, sharpening you, stripping you of the need for affirmation. He's preparing your soul for the weight of what's next. Because if you don't who you are in the quiet, you'll get lost in the noise. Don't rush the process. Let him develop you in private so you won't self-destruct in public. He's not withholding from you. He's weaving something in you that takes time. And if he's taking his time, it's because what he's building in you is too powerful to be rushed. Don't let impatience drive you into spaces you're not ready for. Don't let the fear of being forgotten push you into performing. God hasn't forgotten you, he's forming you. And when the time is right, he knows how to make the right people find you, hear you, recognize you, and favor you. But until then, stay faithful in the hidden place. Let your roots grow deep. Let your worship grow louder than your worries. Let your obedience outlast the silence. Because what he's building in the dark will one day shine in the light with unshakable strength. You've tried to fit in. You've toned yourself down, adjusted your voice, masked your gift, and silenced your fire just to be accepted, just to be embraced. But no matter how much you shrink, the hard you try, something still feels off. You feel misplaced in rooms that look perfect on paper. You feel disconnected in circles that once excited you. That's not by accident. That's your identity pushing against imitation. That's your calling refusing to settle in counterfeit spaces. You were never meant to blend in. You were never created to be a copy. You were born to stand out, and your spirit knows it. There's a discomfort that comes with uniqueness. When you carry something different, people won't always know what to do with you. You'll be too intense for some, too quiet for others, too spiritual, too passionate, too focused, too much. But don't mistake their discomfort for your disqualification. Their inability to comprehend you doesn't cancel your calling. Some people can't handle your fire because they've settled for smoke. Some can't recognize your value because they've never seen it before. You don't have to shrink to make them feel comfortable. Your authenticity is not a liability, it's your anointing. Fitting in is easy. It requires nothing but silence. But standing out, that takes courage. It takes boldness to walk in a room and not conform. It takes faith to be fully yourself when no one else is. The truth is, what makes you stand out is what makes you effective. Your difference is your distinction. Your uniqueness is your assignment in disguise. You weren't made to echo culture, you were made to shift it. You weren't designed to follow trends, you were destined to break patterns. And sometimes in order to break a pattern, you have to be willing to be misunderstood. The pressure to conform is loud. It tells you to edit your light, mute your truth, camouflage your calling. But deep inside, you know that shrinking doesn't bring peace, it brings regret. You weren't sent here to impress the crowd. You were sent here to impact the atmosphere. You carry something disruptive. You carry something sacred. You carry something heavy enough to shift systems, to confront dysfunction, to expose darkness and to awaken purpose in others. That kind of power doesn't blend in, it breaks through. Even as a child, you felt it. The longing to belong clashed with the ache to be real. But here's the truth. God didn't design you for sameness. He designed you for significance. That awkwardness you feel around the familiar. That's your spirit longing for the environment you were created to thrive in. Eagles don't nest with pigeons. Lions don't lounge with sheep, and visionaries don't function in places where vision isn't valued. Stop trying to water down your identity to fit a space God's calling you shift. You are the interruption. You are the shift. You are the bold voice in a passive culture. You're not here to be a reflection of everything around you. You're here to be a revelation of something greater within you. So walk into rooms without apology. Speak truth without fear. Show up without the mask. You don't need to fit in to prove your worth. You've already been marked by something divine. You've already been set apart by something eternal. And when heaven stamps you with purpose, you don't need earth's permission to walk in it. Your presence will disrupt patterns. Your voice will challenge atmospheres. Your authenticity will confront mediocrity. That's why it's been hard to blend. That's why you've always felt different. You weren't made for common spaces. You were crafted for kingdom territory. And the moment you stop trying to fit in is the moment you'll fully step into what you were always meant to carry. You've been waiting, watching time pass, wondering when it's going to be your turn. You've prayed, fasted, obeyed, endured, and still silence, still delay. You've seen others leap forward while you're still stuck at the starting line. And every part of you wants to scream, why not me? But hear this truth deep in your spirit. Delay is not denial. It's divine development. When it feels like God is taking too long, He's not stalling. He's strategizing. His timing isn't just right, it's perfect. And when it looks like nothing's happening on the surface, everything is being transformed underneath. To help grow destiny in a microwave. Purpose takes time, and not just any kind of time, intentional time. Time that stretches you, humbles you, purifies you, and pulls out of you everything that doesn't belong in your next season. See, delay exposes your root system. It forces you to face the parts of you that applause can't heal and platforms can't hide. Delay digs into your character, into your motives, into your hidden weaknesses, not to shame you, but to strengthen you. Because the weight of your calling can't rest on a shaky foundation. If you arrive too early, the thing meant to bless you could break you. If you step into influence without preparation, it won't be long before the cracks start showing. That's why God holds you back, not out of cruelty, but out of mercy. He loves you too much to let you self-destruct in public because you didn't let Him develop you in private. So when the process stretches longer than expected, lean in. Don't resist the shaping. Let Him chisel your character. Let Him train your spirit. Let Him mature your endurance. No one likes the waiting room, but it's in the waiting room that God rewires your faith. It's where He weans you off of results and roots you in relationship. You begin to realize that obedience isn't about getting quick rewards. It's about walking with God, whether the blessing shows up in a week or in a decade. It's about becoming the kind of vessel that carries His glory without needing constant confirmation. Because real power comes from patience. Real authority is birthed in stillness. Delay turns believers into warriors, not because everything works out fast, but because they learn to trust slow progress. Think of the seed planted in the ground. For a long time, nothing seems to happen. The dirt covers it. The sun burns above it. The storms beat down on it. But deep beneath the surface, roots are stretching wide and deep, preparing to support what's coming above. That seed is not dead. It's in process. And so are you. You're not forgotten. You're not failing. You're being formed. You're being grounded for greatness. And when the time comes, what you produce will outlast the fads, trends, and noise. Because you were built in the dark for impact in the light. We often want platform-level results without process-level preparation. But what God is doing in you is too weighty for shortcuts. He's crafting legacy, not hype. He's building character, not just charisma. And he's teaching you that the process is just as holy as the promise. If he's delaying, it's because he's refining. And if he's refining, it's because your calling is greater than you know. You think he's withholding, you think you're missing out, he's actually setting you up for more than you imagine. There's a version of you that God sees, one that's stronger, wiser, sharper, and spiritually rooted. That version is being shaped in this delay. That version is being birthed in the stillness, in the silence, in the secret place where no one sees. So don't despise the time it's taking. The longer the delay, the deeper the preparation. The deeper the preparation, the greater the weight you'll be trusted to carry. You thought it was rejection. You thought it was abandonment. You thought it was another missed opportunity. Another door slammed in your face. But what if I told you that what felt like isolation was actually protection? That what looked like loss was actually a shield? Sometimes God will block the very thing you begged for, not because he's cruel, but because he sees what you can't. He knows what's coming down the road. He knows the cost behind the curtain. And when he sets you apart, he does it to preserve you, not punish you. He doesn't just protect your body, he protects your purpose. You wanted to stay in that relationship because it felt comfortable. You cried when they walked away. But now you see, if they had stayed, you would have settled. You would have compromised your identity to keep their approval. God wasn't trying to hurt you, he was trying to keep you whole. That job you lost, that platform that overlooked you, that door that stayed shut, that wasn't rejection. That was divine resistance. Because not every open door is a God door. Some doors lead to bondage disguised as success. Some platforms carry a price tag your peace can't afford. He knows what would have broken you. He sees the hidden traps behind the applause. You don't. That's why his protection doesn't always come with explanation. It often feels like a setback, but it's actually strategic covering. The no that shook you may be the very no that saved you. The delay you despise might be the very wall that kept your soul from collapse. God is not interested in pushing you toward the spotlight. If the spotlight will expose the cracks, he's still healing. And that's why separation is necessary. That's why he pulls you away from circles that no longer align with your calling. Not because you're better, but because what's inside you is too rare to be contaminated. You're carrying something sacred. You can't afford to get comfortable around compromise. You can't afford to link arms with people who only see your past, but not your potential. When God separates you, it's to preserve what he placed in you. You're not being distanced, you're being defended. Even when you didn't understand it, even when it hurt, even when you questioned his silence, he was keeping you safe. Some people weren't allowed to get close, not because they were evil, but because they were a distraction. Some rooms didn't open because the environment would have suffocated your voice. Some connections were blocked because your spirit recognized the counterfeit before your emotions did. And that's what divine protection looks like. It doesn't always feel safe, but it keeps you safe. Your tears weren't wasted. Your confusion wasn't overlooked. God saw every moment you questioned the process. And yet, he protected you anyway. He shielded you while you doubted. He covered you while you wandered. He said no while you begged him for yes, because he's not just a deliverer, he's a defender. He doesn't just open doors, he closes them too. And when he closes a door, it's because there's something on the other side that doesn't align with your assignment. You were not forgotten. You were guarded. You were not left behind. You were lifted out. What you thought was rejection was actually redirection. What you thought was silence was actually strategy. And what you thought was isolation was actually insulation. Because destiny has a cost. And God loves you enough to hide you from anything that could make you forfeit the very promise he crafted for your life. You were never meant to follow the crowd. You weren't built to blend in or conform to trends. That internal tension you feel every time you try to fit into a system, a structure, a social mold that doesn't align with your spirit. That's not rebellion, that's revelation. It's the realization that you were born to trailblaze, to pioneer, to break ground in places others are too afraid to enter. You carry a blueprint that doesn't match the norm because your calling was never meant to be common. You weren't created to echo voices. You were designed to become one. There's something different about you. There always has been. Even when you tried to ignore it, even when you tried to suppress it, even when you tried to silence that pull toward purpose, you couldn't. Because trailblazers are born with a burden. You see what others ignore. You hear what others tune out. You feel what others overlook. And while everyone else settles for patterns, God has placed a disruption in your belly. You're not here to maintain what exists. You're here to shift atmospheres and establish what's missing. That's why you felt the weight of isolation. That's why your process has been different. That's why you couldn't take the shortcuts others took. God has been molding you in fire, forging you in pressure, and preparing you for leadership that can't be imitated. Trailblazers don't inherit paths. They create them. And in order to do that, God must remove every crutch, every distraction, every person who would rather control you than see you become. You're not just chosen. You're carved out of trials, carved out of tests, carved out of storms and seasons of silence. You've had to walk through what most people pray to avoid, not because you were cursed, but because you were called. And the calling on your life comes with a cost. You can't go where everyone else goes. You can't compromise the way others do. You can't sell out your voice just to gain visibility. Because what's inside of you is too weighty, too sacred, too necessary to be diluted. You are not here to adapt to culture. You are here to challenge it. You are here to establish truth in a world that celebrates comfort. You are here to disrupt cycles that have gone unchecked for too long. Your anointing isn't light. It carries gravity. It pulls, it shifts, it confronts. That's why your life can't be casual. You are never meant to move with the crowd. You are meant to lead it out of bondage. There will be resistance. Trailblazers always face it. But resistance doesn't mean retreat. It means you're close to the place that needs your voice. You're going to stir what's been sleeping. You're going to awaken what's been dormant. You're going to call forth what's been buried under years of fear, tradition, and silence. And that won't always win you friends. It won't always get you likes. But you weren't called for popularity. You were called for purpose. You weren't assigned to please people. You were assigned to break chains. You're not too loud, too different, too radical. You're exactly what this generation needs. You're not too early or too late. You're right on time. You're not out of place. You're out in front. You're carrying the torch for people who don't even know they're in the dark. You're the answer to a cry someone hasn't even uttered yet. That's what it means to be a trailblazer. You go first. You bleed first. You break first. So others can follow without fear. That's why God couldn't let you fit in. That's why you were misunderstood. That's why you've had to fight battles no one else sees. Because you were never meant to follow the path. You were born to build it.